This beautiful village, surrounded by rolling green hills, peaceful rivers, and lively streets. But beneath those streets, tanks, weapons, and the memory of how an entire Russian army was crushed in just a few days remain buried. Izium, Ukraine, was a quiet, remote town full of life before the war. With over 45,000 residents, its streets, markets, and schools made up a close-knit community where routine and calm prevailed, and every corner held its own story. But everything changed in 2022, when Russian troops set their sights on this key location, and something was bound to go wrong. In these lands, where grandparents once told stories of peace and children played in the streets, a battle began that could destroy it all. The Russian troops advanced with confidence, certain they would take control, and they did. Izium fell under Russian occupation after heavy fighting. At that time, the city was under Russian control and served as a strategic center from which Moscow coordinated attacks and moved troops in the eastern part of the country. But they underestimated the people of that town, who knew every street and every corner, and that gave them a crucial advantage. From there, Russia made 3 mistakes that could only have happened in that place, and led to their defeat. But first, let's talk about the weapons they used. Regarding weaponry, Ukraine deployed advanced artillery systems that played a key role in disrupting Russian forces. The American-made HIMARS multiple rocket launchers were crucial for neutralizing rear positions, logistical depots, and supply routes. These systems enabled precise long-range strikes, but their limited numbers and the complex logistics required to keep them operational caused delays that hindered the continuity of the advance in some areas. In heavy artillery, 155mm and 152mm pieces were used to create fire barriers that supported the infantry, although accuracy and firing rate in uneven terrain like Izium proved challenging, resulting in missed shots and excessive ammunition expenditure at times. As for armored vehicles, Ukraine primarily used upgraded T-64 and T-72 tanks, which were effective for the offensive push. However, these tanks had vulnerabilities against modern Russian anti-tank systems, and in several engagements suffered avoidable losses due to lack of close support or coordination with mechanized infantry. The arrival of Western Leopard 1 of 5 tanks was very limited, and did not have a direct impact on the Battle of Izium, as their deployment occurred later, and on a smaller scale. Tactical drones, especially the Bayraktar TB2, were essential for reconnaissance, artillery targeting, and surgical strikes. Nevertheless, reliance on these systems also exposed Ukraine to Russian electronic warfare, which at times interfered with communication with these UAVs, temporarily reducing their effectiveness. Regarding air support, the Ukrainian Air Force mainly carried out intelligence and resupply missions. There were no direct combat air campaigns over Izium, due to the threat posed by Russian air defense systems, which limited Ukraine's ability to dominate the airspace and provide close air support. Finally, although light infantry and special forces took advantage of the disorganized Russian retreat, coordination between units in some sectors was poor, causing vulnerabilities and unnecessary casualties. While Ukraine had its faults, it was 3 strategic mistakes by Russia that truly sealed their defeat in Izium. First, they relied on a single supply route through Kupiansk. When Ukraine cut it off with HIMARS missiles, Russian troops were left without fuel and ammunition. Second, their generals ignored intelligence warnings about the Ukrainian attack, obsessed with the front in Kherson. Third, when the Ukrainians broke the front, poorly trained and demoralized Russian soldiers abandoned their positions en masse, leaving tanks and weapons intact. Their arrogance and belief in their invincibility led to the worst defeat of the war up to that point. After Russia's brutal attempt to take Izium, the area's natural environment was severely damaged. The forests surrounding the town, once full of tall green trees, were left burned and broken. Many trees were split by explosions, while others were stripped of leaves and branches. The ground is scarred with bomb craters, and warning signs about hidden mines are still visible. The Siversky Donets River, which runs alongside Izium, was also affected. Its banks, where people used to stroll or fish, are now covered in disturbed soil, war debris, and fallen trees. Izium's train station, well known to locals, came to a halt. Some train cars were damaged during the fighting and now lie rusted or overturned near the tracks. The rails themselves are bent or broken, and grass is already growing between the tracks in many places. The natural paths where people once walked or biked are now blocked by tank wreckage, trenches, and war debris. Despite all this, some plants and flowers are starting to grow back. Ezium was deeply wounded, but nature is slowly trying to heal. And that has been the story of a beautiful town that was almost conquered by Russia and whose nature was nearly lost in the battle. Subscribe to Military Dominion for more videos.